So here's part 3 of 8.3, graphing quadratic functions and then describing the domain and range. What I would suggest to do, just to make things a little bit quicker, to graph this quadratic function, first of all, since this is a quadratic function, the graph is definitely going to be a parabola. A is 3, B is 6, and then C is 2. But since A is positive, your graph would open up like this. Like you should be able to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, but like I said, what I'll recommend is just to graph this on Desmos, and then you could figure out the domain and range from there. If I graph this on Desmos, 3x squared plus 6x plus 2, here's what the graph would look like. So 3x squared, oops, plus 6x plus 2. So the graph is a parabola. It opens up. Here's where the vertex is. The vertex is at -1, 1. The axis of symmetry would actually go straight through, and the graph opens up. But to figure out the domain and the range, just like every other graph that we've graphed all year long, the domain goes from left to right. I know on this graph, it doesn't have any arrows. It just keeps going on forever to the left and to the right. So the domain actually should be all real numbers. And I could refer back to that graph just to see what it looks like, even though I'm not graphing it here. But all real numbers, because it goes basically forever to the left and forever to the right. Again, you want to take a look from left to right to figure out the domain. And for the range, in this case, the graph has a minimum value. So the range, you're looking bottom to top. If I go back to the graph here, the vertex is at -1, 1. Specifically, you want to take a look at the -1 for y, because that's the lowest point on the graph. So in this case, for the range is in terms of y. In this case, y. So this point right here, without going back to Desmos, is at -1, -1. The y coordinate is -1, and then every other point on the graph is higher than that. So it should be the range is y is greater than or equal to -1.